All right. Assalamu alaikum, Sarah. How are you?
Walaikum salam, Farhan. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. So tell us about yourself, about your education, and where do you work nowadays?
Okay, so I am an MBA from LUMS. I
Great.
got my degree in 2005. After that, I had some corporate experience. Worked at Procter& Gamble, worked at Pepsi,
Amazing.
and then I came back to the academia.
Hmm.
So currently, for the last 6 years, I'm teaching at LUMS.
Great.
My designation right now is Program Director, the Master's Technology Management Entrepreneurship Program. And I
Amazing.
teach marketing, advertising, and branding. So that's my academic background and my current profession.
That's
Apart
wonderful.
from that, I live in Lahore. I have two daughters which are actively homeschooled. And we like to draw, paint, and do outdoor gardening in our free time.
Amazing, amazing. So you do have corporate experience, and you do have experience of teaching in a very top-notch university, which is LUMS, of course. Now, tell me, what is the difference that you found there in the corporate job and the job in an educational sector? What's the basic difference over
There's a
there?
lot of difference,
All right,
yes. The biggest difference is the pace.
all right.
The pace of work at corporations is much faster. The academic university life runs on calendars. So we have a spring calendar and we have a fall calendar. It's very streamlined. We have lots of time to plan and then experiment and then learn. In corporate world, fortunately or unfortunately, you're running from 9 to 9. There are lots of stakeholders. The stakes are high, and that's why the salaries are also high, and the work experience is also very intensive. So there were lots and lots of differences in terms of pace, responsibility, and timeline and deliverables. But both have their own pluses and negatives. So I'm glad I had to experience both.
All right, that's great. Just to ignite one thing, you want to say, I'm relating it to yourself right now. You want to say that in corporate they pay more, and teachers and professors in our country, they are not on that level of payment where they should be. Is that so?
It is again relevant to the industry. So
All right.
even in FMCGs or corporate industries, you have different pay scales. So you have levels. Similarly, in academia also you have levels. So I would not say that it's a apple to apple comparison in the first place, because the time required from me in the academic industry is much less than I was giving to the corporates. So I would not compare it like that. But yes, the amount of effort that you put in, you can actually achieve any kind of, I think, a pay scale that you want to. But I think it's going to be equivalent to how many hours you're going to put in. So if it's 16 hours a week for me, so I should not expect the same pay scale from that I used to get from the corporate industry,
A
to be
wonderful answer,
fair.
mashallah. All right, and now tell me the way you mentioned that you were working as a marketing teacher over here in LUMS, and how about your job when you were in corporate? Were you working in the marketing department, or was there a different department over there?
Yes, I was a brand manager,
Okay,
and I was full-time working on a portfolio that consisted of multiple brands. So I just continued in my concentration to teach also.
that's great. Now tell me, I mean, if we compare the practical life with the educational life, so how do you make the comparison? I mean, the marketing that we are doing in the corporate sector and marketing that we are teaching in the universities, how would you differentiate both of these?
The gap is reducing. So I
All right,
agree. There used to be a
wonderful.
time when used to the books that we taught were very different than what we did and how we did it. But the recent practices of teaching any function or any area is to bring the industry in the academic space. So when we teach, the best combination that we have is to introduce the theory and then invite someone from the industry or a case study and bring it live in the class to interact with the students and tell them that if this theory is applied properly, things can work, or maybe things don't every time work in the way you expect them to work. So I
Great.
think when we bring academia and industry closer, the gaps or the surprises are minimized. But still, when you start working, it's hands-on, stakes are high, there's no safety net. So of course, things are very different.
All
But
right.
we at LUM especially try to bring as much hands-on practice as possible through simulations, through case studies, through industry speakers, through their current challenges. So what is going on with your portfolio right now? So you lost a brand last year. How are you going to cope with it? So with those talks and with those kind of interactions, we are trying to bridge the gap. But in all honesty, there is gap between classroom and industry. There always is. So
And how
that
about
stays,
and
but
how about
it's
Philip
changing.
Kotler's marketing book? Is it obsolete now or not?
Too soon to say that,
All right.
unless we have something to replace Kotler with, which we don't. But I think all the modern concepts of digital marketing are based on Kotler's principles.
Yeah, that's the
So if you
base.
dig deeper,
Hmm.
yes, so the foundation is same. So yes, we can say it's boring, it's old, it's theoretical, but it does hold the basic pillars of marketing, which is, by the way, consumer value and engagement. So you can't do even digital media campaigns without creating enough consumer value and the right kind of engagement. So I think we can't completely bypass it, but we can minimize and we can sort of make it more interesting to the youngsters. That much I agree.
All right. And I mean, if we do not talk about the marketing thing only, how about the general? I mean, how do you take the education system in general? I mean, is it something that we should be providing to the student? Is it also like, I mean, do we have gap in the industrial requirement and the studies that we are providing to the students over there in universities or colleges? Uh, if we do not talk about marketing and we take it in a general perspective, so what would be
Yeah.
your opinion on that?
There are two legs to the education system that we have right now. One is
All right.
K-12, so
Hmm.
that's from your kindergarten to your grade 12 or O levels and A levels, and then
Yeah.
there's high school, the higher education.
Hmm.
I think K-12 is completely redundant. The way it's being taught, the way things are being run, the amount of money that we are spending,
Hmm.
that's redundant. So British Council will let your children appear privately for O levels and A levels. No
Hmm.
issues there.
Hmm.
The higher education is experimenting and evolving right now as we
All right.
speak. So
Hmm.
I can only talk about my university and some online initiatives that are right now coming up.
Hmm.
They're talking about asynchronous learning, they're talking about self-paced courses that they can put it out there and students can learn on their own. See, we're
Right.
living in the age of knowledge economy. It is
Hmm.
criminal for a 18-year-old to tell me I can't learn this because I haven't taken a course in the
Hmm.
university.
Hmm.
You Google it up, you download
Hmm.
something, you read
Hmm.
something, and you educate yourself. So
Hmm.
I think I'm going to put some responsibility on our youth also, that
Hmm.
okay, fine, the schooling is now out of, you're done with that, now you're in the higher education.
Yeah.
Take responsibility of learning what you want to learn, and
Right.
then maybe the university can just provide you the platform. In all
Hmm.
honesty, Farhan, universities are now more of a launch pad or more of a platform where you can
Hmm.
network or you
True.
can get some answers. That's it. Apart
Hmm.
from that, I feel that's why degrees are getting shorter,
Hmm.
leaner. We try
Hmm.
to minimize their time because it's going to
Hmm.
be not well spent if we ask you to do a 4 year or a 6 year degree with us. That's going to
Great.
be a waste
Great.
of time.
Hmm.
So
True.
degrees are going to shrink. They're going to go in verticals. There'll be
Hmm.
specializations only. We
Hmm.
expect the students to read up and know
Hmm.
about almost everything that's going on around them,
All
and
right.
then just sort of help them connect with the vertical, for example, technology or fintech or edtech or any other,
Hmm.
or healthcare
Hmm.
even. So there's lots
True.
going on in healthcare also.
That's
So I
great.
think university's role is going to drastically change, and I want
Hmm.
the youngsters to think about it. That how does that make sense for them? What do they want to do?
Hmm.
Does it fit with their larger plan? Then they're most welcome. If not, they can easily bypass it.
Hmm. Great. All right. So this is about the youth in general, the students in general, and how about the women education in
Yeah.
Pakistan? How do you take that?
Women education has multiple layers of problems. So there's not
Hmm.
one layer, or it's not an easy solution that we can say, okay, this is wrong and we fix it and everything is going to
Hmm.
be corrected. First is the religious layer, and then there's a cultural social layer,
Hmm.
and then there's the third layer of the girl child in terms of what are we supposed to do, and then
Hmm.
marriage, and of course the other cultural issues that we have. I don't see any short term solution to this.
Hmm.
Everything has to sort of hinge upon the economic factors, I think. So,
Hmm.
economics makes sense to the lower class, the middle class, and the high class doesn't have this problem as much as I see. So, again, I would want to say, if you want to make an argument, we should make an economic argument out of this,
Hmm.
that girls should be
Hmm.
independent, they should be financially independent, and thanks to the internet connectivity, you can take classes at home, you can work from home, you can
True.
learn skills. So I think that barrier should not be there anymore. But of course, there is a concern that the masses don't have the option. So we still
Hmm.
have to get higher connectivity and create options. The government schools are doing some wonderful initiatives. PTV is running free courses.
Hmm.
There's so much going on. I don't think we have structured and communicated it as yet,
All
but
right.
I think that we're making some headway on that. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, problems are multifold. They're not
Hmm.
very simple problems to solve.
All right, great. I mean, you have worked in the corporate sector as well. So, how do you see the women who are educated? What portion of those female come to the corporate sector, or might be in education or in the job?
It's difficult to put a percentage on it,
All right.
but definitely if in a class, as it is, there's only 10% females in
Hmm.
higher ed. So
Hmm.
out of a class of 100, 90 are men and 10 are women.
Hmm.
Out of those 10, I think 2 to 3 make it to full-time jobs.
Hmm.
Not the actual degree would not be put to use. So I think the
Hmm.
number is pretty low still. And there are different reasons for that. I think they don't plan ahead in terms of what next, what would we do after the degree. So that has to be the thought process of women, that how are you going to use that degree? And we don't have to hold our lives to get married or to have children and come back. We should be able to do it parallel. So for that, there's some planning is required, which
All
I
right.
encourage all the young girls to plan properly. Take
Hmm.
gaps, take breaks,
Hmm.
but plan
Hmm.
it in a way that the degree doesn't go to waste.
Hmm. All right. Now tell me, that was about from the jobs perspective, and how about the society? How an educated woman can give benefit to the society, and is she really providing the benefit or not?
Look, I feel as an educated woman, our responsibility is twofold. One is, of
Hmm.
course, towards the society and the degree that we have earned, and we're supposed to work in that area. The other is towards family.
Hmm.
So, raising children, educating the next generation, um, as well as giving back to the society. So,
Hmm.
I feel when the debate of gender equality comes in, it's not about equality here at all. We are already
Hmm.
pulling double burden here.
Hmm.
So, it is again going to be who is going to support us. So the
Hmm.
biggest protagonist in a women liberation argument is the man. So if
Hmm.
it's men and women, so we need men to support us so that we can make sure we are doing this double duty
Hmm.
in our full capacity. So
Hmm.
we would need our fathers, brothers, husbands, and sons to take an active role and make sure that we are productive. Now, again, the
Hmm.
question is which one do we want to do and how do we want to do it? We can't do it without support. So,
Hmm.
without making it a gender war, I think
Hmm.
we need to collectively agree that women cannot let go of the family also, and they're
Hmm.
responsible towards the society also.
Great.
So, we should be collaborating rather than competing, which we
Hmm.
unfortunately end up doing in essence of okay, which gender is better, which gender is more responsible. It's a very simple question that women have to play double roles, and we have dual fronts to sort of manage. If I was asked to pick up an important one, I'd pick family, because
Hmm.
those children who are going to be with us for 18 years to 20 years before they leave the house, I think that damage is going to be much more far reaching than anything else. So I think the society can do without us. We don't have to be full time employed in our front workforce. But if we let go of our children's education and upbringing, that's going to be an irreparable damage.
Hmm.
So
Great.
women have to make choices. I
All
feel
right. Yeah.
it's that's the
Well,
choice here.
Sarah, just as you were saying, I mean, there should be some sort of collaborate from the men's side. Would you please
Yeah,
elaborate that?
yeah.
Collaborate.
I think collaboration is support. Is supporting, of course, to ensure safety, to ensure travel, commute.
Hmm.
Every class would have different challenges. So
Hmm.
probably an upper middle class would not need support with commute and safety or any
Hmm.
other issues, but they would need help in taking care of the house or taking, sharing the burden. So
Hmm.
and we see these models working in so many strata, Farhan, already. So my
Hmm.
kitchen helper has her husband stays home till 2. When she goes home, he is a rickshaw driver. So he goes
Hmm.
out. Then after 2 to
Hmm.
8, that's his shift. Before that, he's home with the children. So I think uh, the the balance of this is going to be you decide what works for you. So you
All right.
check with the women. If you want them to support you, you support them also. But of course, there should be boundaries. There should be mutually agreed agreements that
Hmm.
this is what the process is going to be. A lot of times we confuse it with just economic or financial independence.
Hmm.
It's not
Hmm.
about that.
Hmm.
Women, when leave the house, they get the exposure, the sensibility to how
Hmm.
to behave, how to plan, how to manage so many things. So it's never about money only.
Hmm.
So there's so much. If the woman hasn't seen the outside world, how will she raise kids who will be successful in the outside world?
True.
So
True.
there's so many other issues also pending here. So I think just suppressing women and keeping them home and giving them, I don't know, this idea of giving you the money, what do you need to go out for? That's a very archaic one. We must have a balanced exposure to what's happening. And the world is changing very quickly, Farhan. If
True.
you won't give them the exposure, internet would. So something, or a smartphone would. So you might want to make it a healthy balance rather than just a, you know, they will learn, they will see the world one way or the other. You can't suppress. In these days, you just can't do that anymore. So I think we should communicate. Communication is key. Tell them what
Right.
you need, and they should tell you what are their reservations, and both genders should be able to balance it out.
Great. All right. And how do you see the women financial dependency in society?
Yeah, it is a cause for concern. It is a cause for concern because unfortunately economic struggles lead anybody else. So I can go, if I have a health problem, I can go to a hospital. If I have multiple other problems, can be sorted. But this one problem, nobody is going to help you out except yourself. So I think it is extremely important that we think about it, we talk about it. And as women, our responsibility is to pull up other women, even if it's in terms of awareness. So how to invest, how to save, how to impart a skill set. I think this should be talked about. You'd be surprised how a lot of good working women don't save, don't invest. They don't think of their future also, or their children's future. So I think we need a lot of awareness in that area, that it's not just enough case somebody's paying your bills, food is on the table, electricity is paid for, and that's it. We must think. And I think, again, my solution is join hands. Fathers, husbands, sons, join hands, have accounts, do smart investments, have a passive income, a source of passive income, so that you or your children in terms of need can be sort of comfortable. But yes, this one thing has to be sorted, and through skill set, not through degrees. Degrees take too long. 18 years is, nobody can spend for 18 years to become economically unfortunately independent. So skill set is a shortcut. Learn something which you can do with your hand, or you can help somebody else with, and then you have your stream of income generated.
Great. And how do you see the degrees we earn has a relationship with the finances or the money we'll make in future? The relationship between education and finances.
It's going to be an inverse relationship, Farhan. So it's going to be, you have to be smart about it. You have to think that when AI or automation hits the market, 5G is going to be, it's currently actually being spread out. So you have to be very smart about it. You read the World Economic Forum indicators, and they'll tell you which jobs are going to take a nosedive and which jobs will be in demand. And those, we're not producing enough of those job profiles. So you'll have to be smart. If you're getting that skill set from anywhere else but the degree or a college, then go for it. But we will have to equip ourselves with that. Degrees, as I said, it takes 18 years to be, or maybe the only condition is if you get the grades, if you get the admission, if you can pay the fee upfront. There are lots of barriers. So this system for me is too huge, and the ROI is very, very low. So be smart about it. There are lots of alternative models to education and models to receiving actually skills. So a 12-year-old can code, a 14-year-old can be a virtual assistant on Amazon. They can have their own business set up. So there's so much that people are doing, and their success stories. So I would urge everyone to explore. And age is not a barrier, gender is not a barrier. But you need to be smart about it. Value creation will not be dependent on schools or colleges anymore. So that's for sure.
Just as Nelson Mandela once has said, that how would I convince people for education when on the other side is the money? Yeah. And just as you were saying, yeah, please.
Uh, that's what I was going to say, that it's not only money. Even after 18 years of education, what do you show them at the end? There are no jobs. Already the average starting salary of a graduate is 38,000 rupees, which, by the way, is being paid to Filipinos and nannies in lots of households. So I would really urge you to think about your, Farhan, time is going to be more important than money. So for me, my time is money. I can pay you a certain amount, but I would not want to waste my time. So that is what I would say, push and think. Why do you want to spend time blindly following a government curriculum which would not lead you anywhere? So question everything, challenge status quo, and find your smart way around at what you want to do.
That's
And there's
great.
lots of help out there if you ask the right person.
Yeah, Sarah, you have mentioned that we have very, when it comes to education and the finances, we have very less ROI. How can we take it high?
Yeah.
What could be the steps to take it
Costs needs to go down and returns going to go up, which simply means we need to self-educate ourselves. As I said, it's knowledge economy, Farhan. Everything is free on Google. We have MIT courses. We just need a roadmap.
high? Yeah,
Everything else
true.
is free. So now you should not be buying textbooks. Textbooks, PDF versions are available. Our children, our students need to have that discipline to learn on their own. So today, if I'm told to unlearn and learn a new skill, it's going to take me a year or so. Or you ask me to learn a new language, it's going to take me time. You say the same thing to a 14-year-old, they will do it in few weeks, maybe months. So that their turnaround is much faster than us. So why are we? Let's just teach them the simple formula of ROI: your costs, your expenses, and your returns. What you get in return. So just build it in an Excel sheet and see 18 years of schooling. What would you be paying monthly fee or an annual fee, and then the first salary that you get, the average median salary of a graduate in Pakistan. It's all documented, and you will be in a loss for a good 10-12 years. So I would say self-learn, pace yourself, prepare for ONA levels, and then and then learn a skill. You code, you
That's a
program,
wonderful
you
solution.
do anything, and you're on your own.
Yeah.
Don't think about who will hire me. This is a lot of people are not doing this. The jobs will come up. If not, globally you'll be connected somewhere. Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. There's so many possibilities. People are being hired sitting in Lahore globally right now.
True.
So I think Pakistan's job condition should not worry us. We should be looking at a global economic indicator, what kind of jobs are in requirement, and then work backwards. See where your interests are and what you want to work on, and they're going to end up inevitably through the technology stream. So they're going to be
Right.
enabled by tech. So
That's
that's
great.
definitely one of the constant features that we can't bypass. It's not going to be in a factory or in an office, definitely.
Amazing. Well, this is one of the perfect solution, I believe. Like self-learning is the best learning, but for this thing, we need to give awareness to the youngsters, to the student, because of course they do
Yes.
not know what is the pathway, what is the roadmap of going toward the best field or whatsoever they want in the future.
Yeah.
They don't know about that. What do you think? Who is responsible to give the youngsters and the students and the children to give them the awareness? Is it the government, institutions, or the teachers? And how can they do that?
I always think of policy making as having three stakeholders. It's never alone. So the government cannot make policy in isolation. The students can't do anything in isolation, and the parents can't do anything in isolation. So I think it should be a nexus. Unfortunately, we never really talk to each other. All three of us are not talking. So the teachers, the government, and the student and the parent is one, I think. So we are not talking to each other. So if there's any platform where we can actually come together and talk and think holistically, that what skill sets would be needed in 10 years or maybe 5 years, and only talk about those, our education system will be drastically improved. So what we are teaching, will it be relevant in 10 years or not, is a very simple question. But all three stakeholders should be asking and getting the answer to that. Unfortunately, the private schools are not very transparent. The government schools are very slow to respond. So the responsibility, I would say, at the end of the day comes on the society and the parents or the individual who is well read and who sees the signs and who wants to make a difference. Like-minded people can come from any walk of life. Right now, there are lots of groups, there are lots of communities, Farhan, who are talking actively about the future of skills and education and what is changing. So I see small groups talking about it, but I don't see any large platform given to these voices. Like the question is very simple. What we are learning today, is it relevant in 10 years or not? If they can answer this one question, the whole debate will be sidetracked. But they're not answering that because that's going to kill their business models. So the stakes are very high for them. I think private individuals should come together, form a platform, and then just start this. See, we have no stakes in this. We're not making money through this. This is not something that has an invested interest. So without vested interest, this should be an open dialogue. But I leave the responsibility to parents and to adults, young adults, who should be making these decisions and challenging that what what I'm doing right now, will it pay off? If not, then why can't I experiment? And we should give them courage. As educationists, I would encourage everyone to to challenge or question the status quo and find alternative paths for yourself. Worst
Right.
come worst, you'll waste 6 months or a year. Try again. This is how the world has discovered the new directions. So I would not want anybody to think that someone should provide a solution to us. We should actively be doing something right now ourselves.
Great. Well, Sarah, one last question of this interview is just as you mentioned that if we start thinking about what would be the requirement of the market might be or of the society after 10 years, the
Hmm.
business model is going to get compromised. Education is a
Yeah.
big business nowadays. If you are making money, so at least you should be giving something to the product. If your student is your product, if student is your client,
Yeah.
you should be giving best to your client, to the product. But unfortunately, we are not doing that. So So, what's the solution for that? How do you see the education as a business and giving benefit to the clients?
See, the K-12 system says that we're going to get you A's and A pluses. The higher education system says that we're going to give you these are the two things that you're going to get, and the higher you are in the order, so if it's a for example, Harvard says that our graduates, 100% of our graduates are placed within 3 months of their graduation, which is a big claim to make. So I think the carrot and stick approach is very clear. They've shown you the carrot and they say, okay, LGS has so many A stars, City School has so many A's, and I think that's what they're working towards. But if you ask me, the real value would be the soft skills of communication, of holding an argument, of convincing people, of making pitches, trying to create, or social work, even trying to give back, trying to create impact. I don't think our schools or our universities actively talk about that. So, skill set building, personality building, confidence, communication, and then at the end of the day, critical analysis, the ability to think what we are doing and why. That is a skill set that both K-12 schools and the universities should actively impart. And if they're not imparting, then we should search for these courses and get these courses, because they make a large difference in any individual's ability to think, and the confidence that they get is surprising. So I think that's missing in the K-12 and the university system
Well,
right now.
Sarah, you have given really amazing, outstanding solution to the problems we have in our society. Thank you so very much for sharing your ideas, your opinion. These were really worth listening to, and I really appreciate that thing. Thank you so very much
Thank you,
for your time,
Farhan. Thank
Sarah.
you very much.
Pleasure
Take
is all
care.
mine. Take care, stay blessed.